Now, there are a lot of useful tertiary resources out there. I have listed here just a few that are most commonly used. So for general drug information, we can use drug databases like clinical pharmacology, micromedics, lexicom, and facts and comparison, and I'll show you how to access these. For availability of dosage forms, you can use the Red Book, which is available on micromedics. For compounding and formulations, you can use a textbook called The Art, Science, and Technology of Pharmaceutical Compounding, which you can access through the APHA's pharmacy library. For dietary supplements and herbals, you can use Natural Medicine Comprehensive Database, or you can use Natural Standard. For geriatric dosing, you can also use Lexicomp. For immunization recommendation, you can use the CDC's immunization schedule. You can also use APHA's immunization handbook, which is also available on APHA's pharmacy library. For pediatric dosing, you can use the Harriet Lane handbook, which is available on Clinical Keys, and I'll show you how to access it. And you can also use Neofax, which is available on Microbedics as well. And lastly, for toxicology information, you can use ToxNet. Now, when you are on Loma Linda's local network, you will have access to the clinical desktop. So if you go to this link, if you go on one portal, you will have access to clinical desktop. So I'll show you how to do it. So if you go to one.lomalinda.lluh.org, you don't even have to log in as long as you are on the local network. You can go under apps, click on clinical desktop, and when you click on clinical desktop, you will have all these resources available to you. And I'll show you how to use some of these. So there are a lot of books that you can get through Access Medicine. You can get to Clinical Key from here. So if you click on Clinical Key, it will take you to this is Clinical Key, and there are many resources available on Clinical Key. I will tell you more about Clinical Key on a later topic. Here's Lexicom. So in order to access Lexicom, you just click on the Lexicom icon. And here you can search drugs. So let's say if you were looking for metformin, you click it. Here's the Lexi drug, and it has all sorts of information about it. I'll tell you more details about Lexicom later on. Here's how you can access Dynamed. You can also access Micromedics from here. So this is what Micromedics looks like. So you just click on Micromedics, and then you can also search for metformin. I'll tell you more details about Micromedics later on. You can also access Natural Standard. You can access StatRef. Now, for general resources, of course, you have these are the top 4 products that are available. So Lexicom is the most common one. For now, you can access Lexicom through the website. So you can either get it through clinical desktop that I just showed you, or you can go to this link. As long as you're on the network, you can access it. Unfortunately, you cannot access it from home. And once you are fourth year, during your 4th year for your rotations, you will also get access to the mobile app. So mobile app is probably the most commonly used application on the phone by pharmacists. Of course, you can also purchase it on your own if you wanted to. So I showed you how to get to Lexicom through clinical desktop. You can also go to this link as long as you are on the Loma Linda network, and it will take you there. Okay, so in order to get the Lexicom app, if you have access to it, you would just go to the App Store or Google Play, depending on what platform you're using, and just search for Lexi.
lexicomp, and this is what you want to look for. Now, if you have, it will let you install it if it's the first time you're looking for it, or if you already have it installed, you can just open it. It will ask for a key. So once you get the license for it, on whether you purchase it yourself or once you get the license when you're a fourth year pharmacy student, then you can actually use it. So once you open it, then you can use it for to look for drugs. So let's say metformin, and then you have access to everything that's on the website for Lexicomp. You can check for drug interactions. There's a lot of tools. So this is the most widely used application. Now you can also download the Macromedics app. So if you go back to Google Play or App Store and search for Macromedics, so Macromedics. Now, if it's the first time you're searching for it, it will be more confusing because a lot of different Macromedics apps will show up. So there's like IVCom, there's Pediatrics, New Facts. So there's a lot of them. So it's a little confusing. What you really want is the Macromedic Drug Ref. So that's the general one that has the information for drug information. So you install that one, and it's going to ask you for a key, and you can get the key actually if you go back to the website, the web version of Macromedics. It will give you a code, and then we'll let you put it in. And then once you get the app, you can search for drugs. So if you type metformin, then it has all sorts of information. One thing that's cool about Macromedics is it has clinical teaching section. So if you want to talk to the patient and provide some patient education, it has some concise information that you can review very quickly before you walk into the patient room or go to the counter to talk to the patient.
Now, one thing that's good about the web version of Macromedics is if you use this link to access it, you can actually, if you use it on campus, you don't need to log in. But if you were to use it from home, then you can actually log in with your username and password, and it will give you remote access from off campus. Now, with clinical pharmacology, there's actually two versions. There's the old version that you can only access through the on-campus network, and there's the modern version through Clinical Key that you can access both on campus, and also if you access it from home, you can log in and remotely use it. So I'm going to show you the first version first, which is the classic version. So if you go to this link, as long as you're on campus, it will work. Outside of Loma Linda, it will not work unless if you're with an institution that also has a license. If you try it on their network, for example, I know that when I was at Walgreens, when I was a student, they also had access, so you could just type this and it would work. So it just depends on if an institution has access to it, it will let you in. So this is what it looks like. It's pretty cool. You have reports, drug interactions, etc. You can find the information. One thing that I like about this is that you can also get a list. So for example, if you wanted a list of drugs that cannot be crushed, you could actually click this and it will give you a list. So all these drugs cannot be crushed. So that's pretty cool. Or let's see, if you wanted um, drugs that interact with a grapefruit juice. If you click this, it will give you a list and you can just search for it. And of course, you can also use it like if you look for a drug, metformin. So here's information about metformin. You can see what's the description. So you can either use these at the top, or you can use the jump to section. which looks pretty small. So here, if you click on pharmacokinetics, it has pharmacokinetics information here. If you wanted information about pregnancy, it has information here. Anyway, that's the classic version of clinical pharmacology. You can also get the modern version through Clinical Key. So if you use the link for Clinical Key, it will take you here. So now the interface looks like Clinical Key, except this is literally the same information as what I just showed you. So if you wanted a list of do not crush, you click it, it will give you a list. Personally, I like the classic version more, but that website is actually phasing out, so it will in the future it will only be clinical key version, but it has the same information, and you can access this through home from home. So I'll just show you if you search for metformin. Here's metformin, and it shows you products. You can see pregnancy and lactation, so basically the same information. Now, in order to get the clinical pharmacology app, you just search for clinical pharmacology and then install it. Now, you do need to get the username and password from their website before you actually log into the app. Once you install it, it will download the database, so it's going to take a while because it's a huge database. So give it some time and be patient.
Then you can actually search. You can search for a drug. So let's say metformin, and it will have the same information as the web version. So pregnancy, lactation, basically the same information.
Okay, so here are some other useful resources. So when it comes to drug shortages, you can either use ASHP's Drug Shortage Center or you can use FDA's website to see what shortages are out there. So if you go to ASHP's website, you can see current shortages. So it will tell you, and this is pretty up to date. So this should be your number one source if you want to see if something is on a shortage or not. So it will tell you exactly. Uh, so let's say 5% dextrose injection is on a shortage, and it will tell you different manufacturers. It tells you what products are affected from which manufacturer, and they tell you the reason for the shortage, and they tell you what's available. So if your hospital had some of these on the formulary, then if you're in charge, then you can say, you know what, these are available, we can order these instead until the shortage is resolved. Until the shortage is resolved. Now, for availability of dosage form, you can use the Red Book, which is also on Macromedics. So if you go back on Macromedics on the web, before we were searching for drugs here, but there are, if you go under other tools, you can actually click on Red Book, and let's say we can search for metformin. and I will show you all these dosage formulations from different manufacturers. You can also look at pricing, so it will tell you um, the average wholesale price. So you can get a lot of information from here. Now, there are a couple of resources for natural, so like dietary supplements and herbal products that I let you explore on your own. For geriatric dosing and for both pediatric and geriatric dosing, if you go on Lexicom, it has a section. So I'll show you. So let's say we search for metformin again, and here's the product metformin. So you can see it has dosing information for adults. So here's dosing for adults. If you scroll down, it also has geriatric information. So in this case, it just says refer to adult dosing. In other words, there's no difference. But for some medications, there are differences in dosing for geriatric. So that's where you go to check. You can also see how to renally adjust or hepatically, but also here's dosing for pediatric. So if you wanted pediatric dosing, Lexicom also has that information available. You can also use Neofax, which is available on Macromedics. So if you go to Macromedics website, so you can see like this is where we were searching for drugs on Macromedics. There's also this Neofax pediatric section. So if you click it, it will take you here, and then you can search for drugs. You can also search. So for immunizations, you can always use CDC's website for immunization schedules. So if you go to that website, you can also Google CDC immunization schedule. So you want the information for healthcare professionals. They always have the up-to-date schedule for adults, and also so here's for children and adolescents, and also for adults. So if you click on the adults, there are all kinds of information. What you want is the actual immunization schedule, so they are available in different forms. The easiest way to use it is the print version, which comes in color, and it shows you different immunizations. You can also use the app from the CDC.
So if you search for CDC vaccine schedules, this is a free app that you can install on your device, and then once you open it, it's pretty easy to use. So you can see like by age group you can search. So if I click on adult, that the latest immunization schedule is available. You can also, let's say if you wanted more information on influenza, you can just click on it and it will give you more information. You can go back. It also has contraindications that you can search for.
Okay, the last thing I'm going to show you is the APHA's pharmacy library, which you can access as long as you are on the university's network. So you cannot access this through off campus. But if you go to this website, you can have access to the APHA library, which includes all of these books. It has all these books except the last one was not available as far as I could tell. So if you go to this website, you can see this is APHA's library, and it says you have access by Loma Linda University School of Pharmacy. If you go to reference library, it basically has all these books that you can use. One thing that's useful, if you do NAPLEX review, the APHA complete review is a nice review. Also, there's a reference for immunizations. There's one for compounding. There's one for pharmacy informatics. There's one for communication skills. There's also another one for NAPLEX review specifically for math. There's also essentials of cultural competence. There's the handbook of basic pharmacokinetics. There's the handbook of non-prescription drugs for over-the-counter medications. In case you are doing a, you're talking to a patient in the community setting or in any setting that requires, over-the-counter medications. There's also peripheral brain. That's not a nice, this is a really nice tool. When you go on rotations, it has, commonly used information that you need in your pocket. So that's why it calls peripheral brain. There's also, I recommend that all of you read this book, Pharmacy Professional's Guide to Resume, CVs, and Interviewing. As you get ready to, you know, um, secure a job as you approach your graduation, it's important to work on your resume, CVs, and on your interview skills. And this is an excellent tool that's available to you for free. That concludes this presentation.